Evening, everybody. I'd like to thank you guys for spending just a few minutes with me. Just wanted to take some time and discuss something that was really important to me. And the topic of the night was going to be GMOs. Anybody know what GMOs are or stands for? No? Okay, so GMOs stands for genetically modified organisms. In short speak, it just means any organism, plant, or food that's been modified or had its DNA altered in any way or shape. So why that's important, if somebody were to say, hey, here's a tomato, and here's a tomato that has Roundup or other insecticides or extra vitamin C, which one would sound more appealing to you?
The natural
Just a tomato.
Just a tomato. And why?
Because you don't want to eat chemicals.
You don't like Roundup. That's a good reason. Just as a fun fact that I found out about GMOs and Roundup is because GMOs are used so frequently in our foods that almost 400 million pounds of Roundup was used just on produce a year, just on those GMOs, almost 400 million pounds. That's a lot, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So when I did my research, I wanted to make sure that I found both sides of the spectrum. Just pay attention to both sides because you can learn something from both. So we had people that opposed, we had people that were for it, that advocated for it. Groups that opposed GMOs mainly were the Non-GMO Project and a lot of farmers. Most of the local farmers oppose it because, one, they know it's not safe. They know that what you consume needs to be safe and it needs to be as natural as possible. Your body is not meant to break down the chemicals that the GMOs presents to your body and your family. Then there was groups that were advocates. The groups that were advocates, the main group was the FDA. Anybody know what the FDA does on a daily basis?
They regulate what you can or should not be allowed to sell in stores as far as food, right?
Absolutely.
And drugs.
And drugs. They monitor all the food and drugs that we are supposed to consume that are safe for us or for our consumption. So in short speak, it's their job to protect what goes in our stomach, what goes in our bodies, and what goes in our children's bodies. A lot of people feel that they've fallen short, especially the Non-GMO Project. The reason they say that is because they have done outside study. They use outside researchers and every kind of scientific measure to, one, find out exactly what's in the food, two, find out what that does to you, and three, find out how important was it to even use that product, if at all possible, if it was even needed to use that many insecticides or chemicals. Now the FDA is on the other side saying, hey, we needed to use that because to ensure that this crop of oranges was shipped out and that you could have oranges and orange juice, we did use these chemicals, but these chemicals are safe for consumption. Now, the global issue is countries like China, Russia, just about all of Europe, Australia, South America, Mexico, they have all opposed GMOs so harshly that they banned it in their country. It's pretty surprising, right?
Yes.
Do you think the USA has banned GMOs or working towards banning GMOs? No.
I wonder why.
Not at all. And one of the biggest reasons that they've decided against that is because they use the FDA. And unlike the other companies or other countries that have used their scientists and their outside resources to study and really get a grasp on what GMOs really do to the body, they use internal research. That research is really hard to find, and they're not willing to educate the general population. So how does that make you feel to know that a country like Russia, Mexico, Europe says, no, this isn't safe. However, our country says, oh, that's fine. Any thoughts?
I don't like it.
Concerning.
We're smarter than they are. It's concerning. Anybody else?
I mean, it's hard to believe that our country's not trying to look out for us, you know?
It's hard to believe. And that's how I felt. I felt a little betrayed. When I did my research for this, I kind of felt like, why? Why would it be okay to allow these foods, in quotation marks, into our grocery stores, into where we can just pick it up and put it in our basket and not know anything about it? So the other part of, okay, if you're not going to ban it, well, let's label it. Again, when I asked earlier, hey, If I say here's a tomato and here's a tomato with drugs and insecticides, Roundup, you said, no, I don't like Roundup. So would you say it would be a good idea to at least label it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. The non-GMO project has been working for 14 years to get our products and our produce labeled. However, it's fallen upon deaf ears. The FDA is not willing to change it. Other channels not willing to change it. So it's really concerning when you really think about everything that we can consume. Are we consuming what we think we're consuming? And the answer is no. So I have two different tomatoes. I'm just gonna pass it around. I just want you to kind of make an observation. You can eat it now if you want to put some salt, pepper on it. Try both tomatoes and just give me your thoughts on which one you think tastes better. Why? So, when we talk about GMOs, some other things that I found were fascinating was one of the researchers of GMOs is a strong advocate. Her name is Pamela Ronald. Pamela Ronald has been working with GMOs worldwide. Some of the things that she says that GMOs should be allowed because the poorer countries need this. They need it because if bad weather hits, they could lose all of their crops. When they lose all of their crops, they lose money. Their families can't eat. Those are big issues. And I tend to agree. Like, I understand that. I understand you would have to modify it, but modifying it to these dangerous levels to where things can happen to your body because your body's not used to digesting those things. And your body doesn't know where to put Roundup. Your body doesn't know where to put tetrachloride. It doesn't know where to put that. She also states that if you really look at the grand picture of it and you do your research, GMOs are just as safe as consuming regular food. The people that oppose that say that's a complete lie. Since GMOs have been used in our general population, the correlation between consuming those and long-term health risks have been directly correlated to raising. You've seen more cancer patients. You're seeing more issues with liver, stomach, and all gastrointestinal organs because your body doesn't know what to do with it. So just go on and keep passing that around, and then we'll just discuss your observations with those two tomatoes.
I'm afraid to try this black one.
Now, that brings a good point. When we see tomatoes at the grocery store, how do they look?
Pretty.
They're pretty, they're red, they're shiny.
All right, that one first.
How does it taste?
The other one,
First one
tastes
tastes
great. Yeah. We should switch.
The ugly one.
Tastes the same, really.
It's the same, really? Okay. But does it make you feel better that one got from a regular grocery store, and the second one, the Black Russian, the one that looks pretty weird, from a farmer's market? You know where the farmer is? The farmer is located right here in Iredell County. It didn't have to travel very far. There was no chemicals used. It just is a tomato. Which one would you serve on your table and why?
The Black Russian.
What's the price difference?
That's a good question. Honestly, when you talk to your regular consumer, a lot of people say, I can't afford to buy organic. It's too much to buy organic. However, stores like Harris Teeter, Publix, even Food Line have lowered the parity between organic and non-organic food so that it's more affordable for all families. Where it used to be $2 difference is now somewhere around 50 cents between a organic plant and a non-organic plant. So that's something that I wanted to discuss in conclusion. Things that we can do to avoid this. One, we can start shopping locally. We can start going to our farmer's market. You know, you're actually supporting a farmer, you're actually getting real food, and you're gonna have that peace of mind in knowing that everything that you put in your body and your family's body is safe. And it's not full of chemicals and all the other stuff, all the unknowns. Because when you talk unknowns, you're talking about potential health risks. Two, we can demand to be more knowledgeable. If we spread more awareness around knowing what's being consumed, you're looking at more people going to grocery stores saying, hey, we want more organic products in this store. supply and demand. If you ask for it, you'll get it. But if there's only a few that say they want it, then there's really no reason to raise the alarm. So those are the things I wanted to bring to your front. I hope that you learned a couple of things from this talk. Hope that it brought some awareness to you. Just wanted to finish this out with just a short Q&A session. Any questions that you have, be willing to answer.
That was good. Got you all silent.
No, you know, the Black Russian wasn't what I'm used to seeing, but it was very tasty.
Okay. Yes.
Do you think aesthetics plays a role in how people choose their produce and the move from GMO?
I think that's a great question. I think when you look at aesthetics, most people would see that Black Russian and say, "Ew, that doesn't look like something I want to eat." Because we kind of have been programmed to think all of our produce should look nice and neat and shiny. So to play on that, the government says, hey, we'll just keep funneling it to them. So I think with more awareness and just knowing that, one, there's more breeds to tomatoes and apples than we think there are. And some of them are going to look different. But with the taste and just that peace of mind, I think that you'll come around and say, hey, that's better for me, and it tastes better too. So that's a good question. Any other questions? Yes.
What besides tomatoes have GMOs in it?
That's a good question too. One of the biggest crops, you're looking at corn, is one of the hugest GMO crops in the world. You look at corn products, it makes up almost 60 to 70% of what we see in a grocery store. The next is soy products. So those are our two biggest genetically modified crops in the world.
So you say that the FDA is the biggest advocate and the GMOs are bad, but they're there to protect us. So why are they okay with it?
A lot of it comes down to money. A lot of speculations come down to money, and I mean, there's no real hard data that says they definitely are doing it for that reason. But if you look at why they say it and what they're willing to ignore, I think it's mostly money. They can actually save a lot of money on crops by not taking the time and effort to avoid chemicals and avoid mutating those plants.
But
So
the FDA aren't growing crops.
they do help with that. They do assist and they do the testing. So all of that has been internally tested. So instead of where the non-GMO project says, why don't you let other scientists and other groups study and research and bring it to you, they demand that it's all in-house testing. And that's the biggest problem, is that they're not willing to say, here's the data, here's the problem. It's mostly, hey, we'll research it, and no, we didn't find anything. And that's the biggest problem. Yes.
How is using a pesticide genetically modifying a plant? And how do you know that the farmers that you buy from the farmers market aren't using pesticides?
It's a great question. One of the biggest things, honestly, that is one of the things that you deal with when you shop locally. There is a level of trust. However, if you were to research your local farms, you can actually visit the farms. You can actually go on the grounds, take a look, and see for yourself how they treat the crops. A lot of farmers around have a pretty much open door policy and is more transparent than where your food comes from, which most of us don't even know where our crops come from most of the times. So that's one of the biggest things. However, I think with just a proper research and just a little bit more awareness, I think we could actually do more internal and family research just by saying, hey, let's go visit this farm. And you can ask the farmers directly, hey, what do you use? Do you use chemicals? What chemicals are you using? Now, back to the first part of the question where you said, how is using insecticides making it a GMO? It's not necessarily making it a GMO. The GMO has already been there, but to assist the growth and assist how the crop comes out, they do use a larger amount of pesticides than they would if they didn't use a GMO.
Do you think the FDA is more concerned about commerce, affecting commerce?
It would be speculation, but I would say yes. I think that, when you think a lot of things about this country, it is rotated around money. And that's just where we live. And I think when you look at other countries, I think well-being and welfare of all is more important than whatever their currency is. That's a good question. Anything else?
One more. So with the amount of pesticides and all this being used by the big farmers. How's a local farmer supposed to prevent that stuff from blowing over into their crops with the wind and the water and the soil? I mean, even the local stuff is going to have that stuff whether they're using it or not, most likely.
I think when you look at it, it's mostly from the genesis of it. With GMOs, we kind of think that the end product and just the maintenance, the GMO is the seed sometimes. Most of the time, it's just the seed that's been put in the ground that's already been altered so that it can withstand colder weathers, withstand this disease, or withstand this pest. They also will use the insecticides and whatever else to preserve that crop. But the crop is already started when they put the seed in the ground, and that seed is already modified and altered. That's the problem. Whereas a farmer is just putting a tomato seed in. Big farms are using tomato seeds that have who knows what to make sure that, to ensure growth, ensure it's red and shiny. Those are the things that they try to modify and ensure. But that's a really good question. Anything else? All right. Well, I want to thank you again for your time. Hopefully that this was educational, informative, and brought a little bit of awareness about the foods that we consume and buy. Y'all have a great night.